Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today we will be watching Uncharted. The movie starts with our lead character Tom Holland starring as Nathan, who is hanging onto a cargo trail in the air. He is trying to get away from a man by jumping from one cargo to another. This scene cuts here and we are shown a flashback of 15 years ago. Nathan and his older brother Sam break into a museum. They are here to steal a map. Sam tells Nathan that many years ago, pirates would attack and rob anyone that passed from their areas on the sea. This way they gathered many treasures and rare artifacts and had hidden all of them somewhere. The map they were going to steal would lead them to this heavy expensive loot. Sam told Nathan about an explorer named Magellan who was allegedly the only man who knew the location of that treasure, but it was not sure whether he reached the location. He was either killed on the way or the treasure was shifted someplace else. As soon as Sam broke the lock of the map, the security alarms went off. Both of them were arrested by the guard. When they were presented before the nun, she let them off by just giving them a small warning. She could have handed over both of them to the police, but she didn't and sent them both back to their rooms. Sam was about to leave and Nathan insisted on coming with him. Sam sat down with him and gave him a necklace with a ring. He told him that no matter where he goes, both of them will always be together. Sam left Nate to go find that treasure, with the promise of coming back for him one day. Sam had also given Nathan a page and a lighter. He used that lighter to find out what was written. We are now back in the present day. Sam has grown up and works as a bartender now. That night, a beautiful young girl showed up at his bar, and Sam made her a drink called Negroni. She didn't look interested in him and left with her drink. Later Sam was helping her light her cigarette. That is when he stole her bracelet. When he was about to leave, he met a man named Victor Sullivan who offered Nate to work with him and gave him his card with his address. He refused and asked him to leave. When Nate checked his pocket for that bracelet, he found out that Victor had stolen it, so Nate decided to visit his place. This place was not less than a museum itself. There were a lot of paintings, artifacts, and old maps. This map was the same one he had seen with his brother 15 years ago. Victor told Nate that he and Nate's older brother Sam were both following that map and looking for that treasure, but Sam had gotten lost somewhere in the way. Victor tried to reach out to him, but it was no use. He offered Nate to work with him and follow the map again. This way they could trace Sam and enjoy the treasure as well. All these years Sam had not once contacted Nate. He was angry and was still not interested in Victor's offer until he went home that night and went through his things. No matter what, he still missed his brother. The next morning he and Victor met. Victor told him about two keys that were essential to Magellan's treasure. One of the keys was about to be sold at an auction in a few days. They both had to steal the key before it could be sold to someone. Sam asked Victor for a 50% share in the treasure, to which Victor bluntly refused and only agreed to 10%. After days of planning and prepping, it was finally the day for the auction. They met another man named Santiago Moncada, who was also after the treasure. Their plan was simple. Nate would turn off the lights. Victor would steal the key and they both will get out of there, but there was a hurdle in its implementation. As Nate went to the main security room to cut off all the wires, he was caught by the security guards who started beating the shit out of him. He ran from there and to avoid getting caught he jumped off the floor and was hanging from the vertical tube lights. This was a very intense scene to watch. Victor noticed everyone's attention was diverted towards Sam. He jumped to this opportunity and stole the key. As soon as Sam saw him leaving, he also got out of there. On his way out, Victor was stopped by a tough woman named Jo who was also after the key, but as he was wearing the security guard's uniform, the guards arrived and without realizing it, they let him escape easily. Nate and Victor got back together in the car. Nate had never seen such an expensive and rare artifact before. Both of them are on their way to Barcelona. On the way Nate is given old books to figure out where the gold is buried, but he doesn't have much luck. In Barcelona they meet their third partner Chloe. She had the second key to the treasure. As they are talking, Chloe gets annoyed and states that she will not work with them and leaves. As soon as she leaves, Nate finds out that she stole the key from his bag and he ran after her. He finally caught up with her and before she was about to drive away he pointed out that, although she had the keys, she didn't know how to use them. He was right. Nate had also figured out where the treasure was, and when he told her, she had no choice but to work with them. They get to an old church, where the tree from the old book was said to be located, but the church was closed that day. Meanwhile, in Moncada Foundation headquarters, where Santiago is fighting with his father, he had recently found out that his father may give away his fortune to charity, and he certainly did not want that. Santiago met Joe, who he had hired to find Nate and Victor and get the keys from them. Using all the letters and postcards his brother had sent, Nate tried to find clues and hints to the treasure. Victor traced the directions that were carved on tiles and followed them. They go into the church. After looking further, they locate a statue, and when Nate turns it over, 2 keyholes are revealed. Nate and Chloe decide to go into the secret tunnel. They are tracked by a phone which Victor will keep to make sure they stay safe while he waits outside. Both of them go through the tunnel and find out that it leads to a club where they find another clue. Joe's men are already waiting for them and try to stop them. After an intense fight, both of them manage to make a narrow escape and enter the door that was highlighted by the 3rd clue. Inside that door, Nate finds another keyhole, and when Chloe puts in her key, the whole chamber starts getting filled with water that was coming from a fountain above. Victor was tracking their movements, and he figured out another keyhole that could help both Nate and Chloe, who were trapped. But before he could reach them, he was stopped by Joe. They started beating each other up while the other 2 were fighting for air in the chamber as it was getting filled with water. Victor throws Joe on the glass wall and puts in the key. This opened the lid of that chamber, and Nate and Chloe finally got out of it and found themselves in an even larger one. They start looking around and see Victor, who could also talk to them through a small window. He couldn't open it. When he tried using the keyhole, he found out that it requires both the keys. He was a little skeptical giving Nate and Chloe his key, as literally all of them are thieves, however he caved. Chloe combines both the keys and made another one which would fit the new lock. This opened a new door. Both of them got in. It was a giant old room with huge vases inside. Chloe opened one of the vases and found out that it was filled with salt. All of the vases fell down and broke. They were also filled with same white salt. Geez, what a waste. Not quite though, because as Nate looks around in the salt, he finds the actual map of the treasure that was buried here by pirates themselves. Chloe points a gun at Nate and tries to double-cross him. He was taken aback as she was a part of their team. She told him that she had no problem with Nate but did not want to work with Victor because he had betrayed Sam, and he would betray them too. She hit Nate with a log, due to which he fainted, got the map, the keys, and got out of there. When Nate woke up, Victor was standing over him. Nate was angry that he had lied to him about his brother. He started blasting him regarding his newly discovered revelations. Victor told him the real story, which was that both of them were attacked and got shot. Victor escaped, but Sam couldn't. He had basically left him to die. Nate was hurt. He was done with Victor and his plan, and so he left. Plot twist. All this time, Chloe was working for Santiago Moncada. He also fired Joe, who couldn't deliver what he had hired her for. Nate was packing. He had decided to work with Victor one last time to finish what his brother had started. Here Victor told him that it was because of Joe that Sam died, because she was the one who shot him. In the jet, Santiago loads the map on his database. He sat down to tell his men a story from his past, and that is when Joe killed him. She wanted the map and its treasure all to herself. Chloe escaped from there, and Joe's men started looking for her. In the storage, in Santiago's car, Nate and Victor were also hiding. While everyone was busy locating Chloe, they picked the map. Victor tried stopping Nate, but he was too angry to reason with and confronted Joe head-on. Before the men could shoot, he pulled the cargo and all of it started falling out. Victor jumped out with his parachute, instructing Nate to do the same. Joe's men had found Chloe, who was trying to get away. She only had one bullet left, that is when she spotted the red car. Having no other option and Joe on her back with a gun, she got in and drove down, pushing Nate over the edge. Both of them held on to the cargo that had a parachute attached and merely escaped falling into the sea and dying. They found a small island and booked a room for the night. Nate was going through his brother's letters, and he could feel his brother telling him where to go. After spending all night, he finally figured out the correct coordinates to the treasure and was about to write them down on a paper. Nate had learned from his mistakes and wasn't dumb enough to trust thieves again, so he wrote wrong coordinates as a test for Chloe. And guess what? She fell for it, because the next day Nate found a note by her stating that she had already left. He was very happy to lead her the wrong way and finally arrived at the correct location that he had figured out. He found an old ship. Inside there were large trunks filled with solid gold. He was looking around and was interrupted by Victor, who had tracked Nathan and followed him. As they are talking, they hear a loud thud and find out that Joe is here too. They try to hide in the ship, but it is useless. Joe, being a badass, connects both the ships to big jets in the air and extracts the ships along with the gold. Joe's men find Nate and Victor and all of them throw hands. Victor decides to hijack one of the planes and he gets successful too, until Joe rains fire on the other plane to bring it down. This was an amazing scene to watch, a plane chase in the air with ships full of gold hanging from them. Wow. Nate lights an old cannon, blowing up Joe's plane, but she is a fighter. She jumps towards Nate and they start beating the shit out of each other. Victor tries to help him by throwing the bag of gold at her. She falls into the sea, followed by the ship whose ropes had weakened over the time. Joe is now finally killed. The ship was now property of the Philippines. Nate and Victor get out of there empty-handed. But that's not true, as Nate had tucked away some gold bars in his pocket which he shares with Victor as well. And this is where our movie ends. I hope you liked this video. I will see you in my next.
Bye!